Hi girls, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I'm going to be reviewing this book titled Americanah by Nigerian author Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. You may be familiar with her TED Talk on feminism, which was sampled in Beyonce's Flawless song a few years back, or you may be familiar with her other literary works. That's quite fine with me, but this is the book that we're going to be getting into today. I felt it was important to go back and dissect this book due to everything that's going on in the country with racism and everything that's just going on in the world right now. Plus, it's just a really good book. But before we get into it, I want you to go and grab your favorite drink. Today, I'm going to be sipping on sparkling lemonade that I picked up from Aldi, and get comfortable. So let's get on into it. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of background on our main character. So her name is Adichie, and she is from Nigeria and has moved to the United States, where she's been living for quite a few years. What prompted the move was her university was constantly on strike. And as you can imagine, if you're enrolled in school and your university goes on strike, that disrupts your education. So she, along with her friends, everybody had to make decisions and make moves so they can continue their education. So she comes to the United States. She left her family behind, left her boyfriend behind, who is fascinated with America, by the way. And she enrolls in school. And I mean, it's not easy as I'm making it sound like 1, 2, 3, of course, but that's just a little bit of background on her. So she's been in the United States for a few years. And as she's here, she's realizing that for the first time in her life, she's encountered with this thing called race, which, looking at it, might sound kind of strange. Like, who doesn't know what race is and racism is? Not that she's ignorant, it's just something that she never encountered where she's from. I guess how I interpret it was, in Nigeria, you're with a bunch of people who look like you, who speak like you, who speak the same languages as you, essentially. And coming to America, you have all these different races. And not only is there issues with race stemming from, slavery and segregation, there's also class, all these other sections that further divide us. So she's encountered with race and racism for the first time. And I'll give you an example that I can recall. Our main character, she is a college student at that point, and you gotta work. You need money. She needs money to afford things. She needs money to pay rent, money to send back home. So she took on a job as a nanny for this white couple who has 2 kids. And while she's there at their home one day, it's like a maintenance guy, someone that's coming to do some repair to something that's been damaged in the house, or something that needs to be taken care of in the house. They had, this person come in and take care of it. So she's home, she opens up the door, and he's right away looking at her, already assuming that because she's black and she's in this nice neighborhood and she's in, this wonderful home, that she of course couldn't be the owner. So the way she was treated by that person, it's like she just keeps encountering different things about race, and just how people judge you based off of how you look, and how in the United States there's all type of systemic racism, all different type of things that further oppress specific groups of people. So taking all of her experiences, she ends up opening up a blog, and they call her a race blogger, but what I can equate it to as almost in a fashion of Dear White People. She's explaining what it's like being in America as a non-American black. And she's just basically going through all these different topics on her blog, and she becomes really, really successful at it. So when we meet her actually in the beginning of the book, she's going back to Nigeria. She's in a salon getting her hair braided, which, again, that's a way I can relate with her. I'm like, oh, she's a blogger, I'm a blogger, oh, she's getting her hair braided, okay. I'm like, oh, we here. But she's actually getting rid of her blog. She's moving back to Nigeria, and that's when we meet her. So as our main character returns back to Nigeria, she's able to link up with some of her old friends from university whom she hasn't spoken to or seen in ages. And basically what occurs to her is that she starts to realize that things are different, or she questions herself now, maybe things aren't different. Maybe I've been gone for so long and I don't know. So a lot of identity themes come up within this book. And upon returning back to Nigeria, she joins a group of returnees back to the country who have lived in other countries like America, maybe the UK. And she's among people who now kind of like understand her in a way that maybe her friends may not understand her, those who have not departed from Nigeria. So they're able to talk about different things that have occurred to them, because she's been accustomed to American ways and American conveniences that are not necessarily prevalent in Nigeria at that time, or still like kind of like on the rise. So she's able to not only link up with her old friends, but then she makes a new group of friends who understand this other part of her identity as well. There's also the possibility of her linking up with her former lover, whom she's left in Nigeria, when she went to pursue her American education. And I'm not going to get into it too much because I definitely want you to read it for yourself. So basically, we have all these different dynamics. We have a bit of race, we have identity, and we have love. So as I begin to close out this review, I just want to share a few points from my perspective, what jumped out to me, okay? So one thing is, I feel like as Black Americans and as non-American Blacks and American Blacks rather, we need to kind of understand that we are the same, but also instead of criticizing our differences, just understanding them. And I could say this as a person who has a Black mother and a father who was from Africa. So I think there are a lot of cultural differences that we kind of like just point out with one another. Instead of trying to embrace them and accept them, we kind of like try to force change on one another. And basically what I mean by that, so I watched this show called 90 Day Fiance, and in many of the seasons, there's like an older white woman who falls in love with a young Nigerian man and goes over to Nigeria, and basically is now you're angry that you don't have all these American conveniences, and why can't people just be like this? And again, there's cultural differences that exist. Don't try to change, but just try to understand and celebrate. And I guess another example that I can use is I read a blog some years back, and there's this singer here in Philly named Jill Scott, and there was a girl who was from another country. She was Black, but just from another country, and maybe the UK, maybe the Caribbean, I really don't remember, but she basically was a fan of Jill Scott. She loved her music, and however, when she went to a concert, she really started to realize that, wow, like some of these things she's saying in these songs, like I just don't know about. For instance, Jill Scott has this one song, I forgot the name of it, but basically it's about love, and she's saying like, do you want this on your rice and gravy? Do you want this on your biscuits, baby? And the girl was just like, that's not what we eat here, wherever she was from. This is just different to me. Like, so I say that as Black people, just understanding that our way, or as Black American people or American people, that our way is just not the only way. You have to kind of like be open-minded and realize that differences exist within every culture. It doesn't make it wrong, it doesn't make it right, it doesn't make it anything but just what it is, which is just different. So the book definitely just brought a lot of things to my attention, that sometimes Americans just have this boastful way of thinking that our way is the way, our English is the English, and that's that. But I just think these are conversations that are needed to be had. These are, these gaps definitely do need to be bridged in a sense, and not necessarily like scoffed at or judged, but just celebrating our differences and understanding them, and also celebrating what we have in common. But as far as the differences that are brought up, it just kind of really made me realize that as Americans, sometimes we have our ways about us. And then on the flip side, we have Africans who sometimes like tend to point down or look down and think like, oh, Black American Blacks are just lazy and this, that, thing, and the other. I had to come to this country and I had to really struggle. when in reality we have so many things stacked against us, not to make excuses for, but we have so many different things stacked against us, like from the time that you're birthed here, that it doesn't necessarily mean that we had such an easier life. Yeah, we have access to maybe different things, but it doesn't mean that our life here has been easy. So I like that the book just brought up for me in my mind and in my life just different things that have come up and things that we could like kind of just work on together and like talk about, right? So I definitely recommend this book. It is a lengthy read. I read it probably like 2 years ago, but I wanted to read it again, like I said in the beginning, due to everything that was just going on in the country, everything that was going on right now in the racial climate of this country. And so upon rereading it, I think it took me about 2 weeks, but it's a pretty good read. It's definitely something that you're going to want to finish because you like want to see what's going to happen with so many situations within this book. It does flip back and forth from, you know, her life in America to her life in Nigeria to, you know, to her past lover's life and what he's been going through since, you know, she left. So it really is a deep book. I feel like there's going to be a lot of discussion points from it. And if you have read the book, I would say, you know, leave a comment. Can you relate to any of the themes in the book? What's something that stuck out for you? And if you haven't read it, I suggest that you would, and, you know, leave a comment so we can have a discussion about it. And I hope you like this review. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at A Black Girl About Town, and subscribe to this channel if you are interested in more content like this. Please subscribe to my channel. All right, thank you. Bye.